feeling nothing at all. Think it's time for a change. I've been afraid of nerves, figured they'd only hurt. I just need to have faith. Keep me from keeping me down. Even me out. Free me, so I'm not afraid. Gotta let it go. Let it flutter. Let it flutter. Gotta let it go. Let it flutter. Let it flutter. I'm over catching butterflies. Let it flutter. Let it flutter. I'm over catching butterflies. Let it flutter. Let it flutter. So what if I make a fool? My ego can only bruise. It's nothing that I can't take. It's better than being numb, waiting for sleep to come, so I can dream about change. Gotta let it go. Let it flutter. Let it flutter. Gotta let it go. Let it flutter. Let it flutter. I'm over catching butterflies. I'm over catching butterflies. Let it flutter. Let it flutter. Gotta let it go. Let it flutter. Let it flutter. Gotta let it go. Let it flutter. Let it flutter. I'm over catching butterflies. Let it flutter. Let it flutter. I'm over catching butterflies. Let it flutter. Let it flutter. Gotta let it go. Let it flutter. Let it flutter.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Smite fans. Welcome to week 1 of the Galeria Smite League. My name is Supersonic Blood. Joining me on the desk side of things will be Zats. And the first matchup we have for you tonight is going to be the Kinsai's or the Kinkai's versus VTubers Parade. So that's going to be a bit of fun. It's going to be totally fine on that side of things. It's going to be a very interesting matchup. And like we said, with a week 1 look of things, this is kind of an interesting territory. Not much is known about these teams as a whole, so really going to be a good look to see who puts their best foot forward here.
Yeah, obviously, with all these captains that have been involved in the draft, they've had lots of prospect games to go off. There've been a huge amount of those, and then obviously anything that happened in season 1. There's a lot of information to be worked with here, and anyone that watched the drafts, there were a couple of really interesting picks that were left quite late on in the draft. I thought really spicy rosters. And I would expect a pretty close game, especially in week 1 when everyone's kind of feeling each other out. No one really knows what to expect yet.
That is certainly true, and with some of the meta shifts up as well, we've been seeing Manticore spikes being something that's quite a big one. Is that something that you felt has affected picks and bans at all with new item builds?
I think the general consensus is that Manticore spikes is a very stat efficient item for how much it costs. There's no denying that, even with a very recent nerf. What I will say is I do think it's being overvalued just a tiny bit. I think it's great for smashing through ranked games when you support. I think when it comes to organized competitive gameplay, it's a little more difficult to play around. But there's no doubting how strong an item this is. I think most of the items in the new earring tree are very, very strong. So yeah, it's characters that can obviously apply it. Roots now apply it. They now count as a hard CC. That's a fairly recent change. So again, we're seeing lots of little changes like that are going to affect these picks and bans.
While you talk about picks and bans, VTubers Paradise versus Kinkai's game number 1 coming up, and things will go straight on in towards the picks and bans. You can now see the two of us as well. VTubers Paradise are going to be locking in that first pick here. Kinkai's on the second side of things, and I guess the first thing to talk about with picks and bans, you've mentioned a lot of the stuff that's good. What kind of stuff are we going to be expecting here for picks and or the ban side of things?
Well, immediately Yu Huangban, and I really quite like this. I think he is the premier mid laner at the moment, and I don't think there are a lot of them. I think mid lane is not in the strongest state. Now, I am biased as a mid laner, so naturally it's the worst role in the game. But Yu Huang, so safe. Tons of CC immunity in the kit. That's a theme of some of these newer gods. Yu Huang is so difficult to dive. You can banish yourself out of the fight for 3 whole seconds. It makes it really difficult, and that's what I think mid lane is all about. It's about safe farming and getting to that late game. And when you get there with Yu Huang, he can be very, very scary indeed.
Yeah, and we take a look down at some of the other bands coming through. King Arthur and Yamoja from VTubers Paradise. These, again, like you said, very safe, very strong gods that don't take a whole lot to mesh with the team. They just do a very good job. Kinkai's on the other side. Ratatoska taken off the table with Lancelot. Khepri taken as well. I was going to ask, do you think with the Summer Masters we might see Cupid lock in, but it was snap picked by the VTubers here.
And it has been, again, it's been nerfed recently. I still think Fields of Love is always going to have value at every single stage of the game. So I'm very, very happy picking it up. It obviously means that you're not going to get potentially that counter matchup in dual lane, but I think the pick as it is, you kind of have to take it away if you want to give yourself a fighting chance in that long lane. It's certainly difficult to fight into a Cupid. I also think it has decent flex potential as well. On the other side, this Cabrakan is something that I think, again, we talk about Manticore spikes. Cabrakan, one of the best appliers of it.
Ridiculous,
it's crazy good. I think he's such a good flex as well. 3-4 rolls, arguably, if you're I mean,
We're going
I mean,
spicy with Cab mid?
Okay, maybe we won't see it in this league, but certainly viable in so many different roles.
Mm.
I'm really not sure where this is going at this stage, and that's what I like with this early two
Mm.
picks for King Kai's. We're not sure where either of these picks are going.
And I think, like you said, just that flexibility lets them look further down the draft and decide, hey, would this Ravan be better off in solo? Would it be better in jungle? And now, looking at what VTubers Paradise have picked up, Hugh Helene in for the solo lane, most likely, unless we're getting really flexible here. But against that, you can argue, do you want the Ravan to go into that? Do you think Cabrakan could bully it? Or do you just go ahead and, like you said, if there's 3 open slots at this point, do you want something else that can fight into it? But Ganesh here to lock in with the Cupid, and now a Ram pickup. The dual lane's 3/4 of the way finished here, and it's certainly looking in favor of VTuber's Paradise to start with.
Yeah, certainly in terms of kill potential, I think Rama's clear is perfectly good into a Cupid. Obviously, you also have that potential of just hopping up into the sky whenever that Fields of Love comes out. Means you still have your beads up, and that's something we'll need to see from the VTubers Paradise in terms of what they're going to pick up in jungle. Maybe something that can just apply a bit of pressure in terms of beads burn. I really do like this Cullen though. I think he should be top picked personally. I think when you're banning King Arthur, Cullen kind of gives the same pressure, and solo lane is all about pressure at the moment. We see junglers rotating over to get pressure onto these totems. Totems add up, and that's why pressure in solo is so important. And who's better at doing that than Cullen at level 2 when he's got that rage stacked up?
Agreed. Very few gods can challenge something like that, and we can see, though, VTubers opting to take away the Morgan Le Fay and Discordia. We've seen a lot out of the Discordia recently, causing a lot of strife over in that mid lane. Great team fight presence with the rest of this kind of comp could be absolutely disgusting, so Kinkais are going to have to look elsewhere for that. Hovering the Baba Yaga, and again, this just seems shades of the summers past. Baba Yaga was a pick that was taken a lot, but didn't always land a home properly.
Sure, home. There's another one. Home's, yeah. Anyway, sorry. Yes, I like it. When you look at mid lane, I'm going on about mid lane a lot, as you can notice, but Warlock stuff, obviously, pretty much the only build you're seeing at the moment. There's a couple of variations, but of course, Baba Yaga, a great builder of that, better than anyone else. I think she fits the current meta perfectly. Late game scales, hits like a truck, gets through the early game reasonably enough. I do think Ganesh is a bit of a problem for Baba Yaga. I'd be concerned about getting that jump cancelled out very, very easily. And also, when you see on the other side this Tiamat Arachne lock-in, that speaks pressure, and I think Baba Yaga can struggle in the early game. So I have to be looking at that mid lane, and for me, that's the pressure point.
Yeah, I can certainly agree with you there. Arachne, pressure, this is one of the best level 1 through 4 gods in the game. You just don't box her, because she will outbox you. And you mentioned about a beads burner. Arachne's not necessarily one for burning beads off of like CC, but you get slowed and she sticks on you. It's really tempting to panic beads button that. Oh, if you want a beads burner though now, an Ares, that's a beads burner.
Yeah, so that gives us a little bit of an idea. Again, still ambiguous. Could be Cabrakan in jungle, could be Raven in jungle. Either of them are adept in solo as well, but Ares, pretty sure we're going to see that in the dual lane. Again, not a super fan of it into Ganesh, I must say. Tiamat has a very low cooldown CC Immune ult, or one of his ults, I should say. It's really the Cupid that you're going to be looking to go on, and of course that will still work certainly. No reason why that shouldn't. Cripple also decent when I look at that order side draft, but I do think that Ares needs some other kind of beads burn to go with it. And we talked about beads burn just earlier.
Yeah.
It's all well and good getting a 4-man no escape, for example, getting a couple of sets of beads, but you need something that can make the most of those lack of beads. Cabrakan, he's okay at that. Again, Raven is okay at that. They have they have short range CC that can make the most of that, but it's not like having a Daji who went through the entire picks and bans, by the way, without being even mentioned, which I think is crazy.
True, very true.
But that, you know, it's that kind of character that you need to see with an Ares. So for me, that's a little bit risky. But again, if they just focus down this Cupid and alleviate some pressure in that duo lane, they might stand a good chance if they can scale a little bit later.
Yeah. I'm looking at this like you said with the Ares. It's the beads are burnt. And my point is Kinkai's go, right, their beads are burnt. Dump everything into them now. We take this fight now and deal with that with the beads down, so they can't deal with the smaller CC like the stuns from Kabrak and the roots, things like that. But like you said, team fight wise, VTubers Paradise aren't too bad in that regard either, especially from this duo lane. With picks and bans done, let's go ahead and see how one will be won here. So we got VTubers Paradise versus Kinsai's game 1 coming underway, and by the looks of it, it is going to be Kabrakan in the solo lane.
And I do quite like this. Kabrakan kind of brings his own sort of pressure, with obviously having tremors at level 1, assuming you do that, which I would expect. Nice with Conduit Gem as well. Can actually cause some problems, even for a Cucullin in the early game. So I'm a big fan of it. I think as long as we don't see like a full damage Kabrakan build, you know, with the mask and all the lifesteal items, which, you know, it's frustrating to deal with, but you can deal with it. Whereas actually, I want to see things like Shield of Regrowth and then into Spirit Robe and, you know, the usual items that are also super strong at the moment. So as long as we see that, I think this Kabrakan could do very well.
Yeah, I do agree. And that's one of the things that is pretty good for the Kabrakan is that passive just makes it so difficult to deal with minions. Level 1, just getting that tankiness is kind of difficult to deal with, but solo-wise, we'll have to keep an eye on. We can already see that Brazilius going full on for that pressure. Mannequin's Scepter start. This is all about the early game. If you're getting to late game with this, I'd be a little concerned.
Yeah, I mean, that is one caveat about Arachne. As good as she is early, late game, there's very few characters in the game, and I certainly don't see any in this game that can 1v1 the Arachne. Maybe you're looking at Sase on this Rama can perhaps do that, but it's almost impossible. And so what we're looking for is Kinkai's. Obviously, their early game is not as nearly as strong, so they're already going to be lacking pressure. They need to get through this early game, and then they just need to stay grouped. Don't worry about getting picked off by this Arachne, who could be split pushing, could be doing all sorts, and already causing a little bit of problem in the mid lane. This Mannequin's pressure is gonna give a lot over to when you look at all the oracles they're going to get, the mid camps they're going to get, and rolling in aggressively. This is the pressure from the other side of the duo lane that I wasn't quite expecting.
Yeah, I think both of us weren't quite expecting this, but you mentioned Ram, hey, we can hit the whole wave, that's pretty good. It's also as well pair it with an Ares who wants to be that aggressive, you just hard clear, health bars be damned. Locky and iDaisy don't quite have that same lack of fear, as it were, and you can see already just these chains and flames causing a lot of damage there. But with the Benevolence versus the Sentinel's Gift, this again speaks to that idea, clear the wave hard and fast, but look at this, Pindas 11 ends up very low on the battleground. We'll get the Rage Transformation, but that's 100 and a bit health right there.
I do think it's one of the better counter matchups into these pressure solo laners that we're seeing all the time. But speaking of pressure, iDaisy's under a lot of pressure, has been crippled. There's the shell.
Shell's good. Just about
really
makes it out there. We're talking about pressure again, just across the other side of the map. The Kabrakan looking to try and deal with Arachne's damage. Bit of support from the jungler as well. That was the blink expended. And a cheeky look there from Lupo. Not sure if it was a full intent for an engage, but definitely snooping around for an invade on that buff. No such luck there. And as we make our way to the 3-minute mark, it's a slight lead for the Kinkais right now, but again, that's more just to do with some of these waves not being fully cleared and buffs respawning. It looks like we're going to be a bit quieter for the next minute or so.
And I think we're seeing most of that endure lane. They've already secured the side harpies. And again, it's something that we didn't really touch on, but the fact that Ares does a lot more damage to waves. Their clear is actually better than I mentioned at the start of this draft. I thought Ganesh Cupid, well, they're going to have all the pressure, but actually Ares Rama, that clear is very, very fast, and it means they've already burnt the shell from iDaisy. They've cleared all these harpy camps as well. So yeah, a slight little lead, and that's pretty good when you see a Cupid on the other side.
Definitely agree with you there. I will be interested to know what Sakura opts for. They've started Emerald Earring, so going in for that new tree. Not sure I'd want to be running Manticore Spikes first, but I don't think there's anything else you can really go. You don't really want to be hampering your protections that early with a Sphinx's bauble, but look, keep an eye on this. Right now, Sakura's just trying to bait out a little bit because we do see that Morton is hovering around this side. Chains are good. Out comes the Ohm as well. That's the silence worried about. Gone, but the distance just too great for Morton to make their way on through. No blink. It is beads for this jungler here.
That's. I'm glad you mentioned that. That is not what I was expecting to see, especially on a character like Raven, who of course has CC immunity in the kit. Blink is surely going to be the better option here, but now ults available for both supports, and there's fighting happening all over the map.
Looks like it. There come the chains. Daisy has no such luck, and so Daisy will become a part of the Daisy chain there. First blood going the way of the Ares. Hits level 5 and immediately making use of that ultimate. No CC immunity, and Daisy doesn't even try and use Shell to save them. It's just, okay, I'm good. Thank you, I'm a die now. Goodbye forever.
Yeah, nothing you can really do. We do sometimes see beads picked up on these support picks just when you see something like an Ares on the other side. I'm kind of torn on how I feel about it. Certainly, it would have saved Daisy there, but I still think having a shell, is going to be more valuable for everyone else. That kill's been coming. That pressure's been there for the last 5 minutes. And I don't really know what else you can do there. Jungle was actually a little bit behind, was level 4 to Morton's level 5, but is now, as a result of that kind of failed gank from Morton, we've got Basilius who's actually snuck just a tiny little bit ahead. And again, that's what you want to see from this Arachne more than anything, because as good as she is early, she also outscales Raven in the late game, I feel, especially in a meta where these full ability-based burst junglers, you're generally not able to 100-0 people as effectively as you used to, whereas Arachne is not going to have that problem. So we need to keep an eye out on Morton and how proactive they're going to be.
Indeed, a battle of the jungle pressure as it stands right now, but a nice potential invade as, oh, not again, Daisy! Daisy will use the shell this time and will just about make it back to the safety of their tower. Freak out, though, goes on into the tower line and is immediately punished for it. Zenico will pick up that kill to return it. And Sakura did go ahead and pick up the Manticore Spikes as their first item for a full back here, and well, we can already see they are certainly trying to put that pressure in, but Zenico not looking to relent just yet. These chains from these Ares, though, have been so impactful. Just slowing someone down completely hampered Arachne's attempt to keep going there.
And man, this Ares pick is proving me wrong from what I said in the draft. This is what you need to do when you have a big ult like that. Just use it as often as you can, even if it is just to pull the support. The shell this time came out, and it was really, really well done. Got the Dharmic Pillars out, and then it's just, I don't know. Freak Out just, I think, took a tower shot when I really don't think there was kill potential. And, little differences like that, it all matters. And as a result, they've managed to get a kill back onto the board, and it's 1 for 1.
So far, 1 for 1 as 7.5 minutes come on through. Pressure starting to come towards the mid lane, but the junglers haven't really been grouping in this 3v3 we're used to seeing right now here. Sakura still, again, just constantly causing some trouble here as Freak Out gets to just free clear the wave. Morton, though, has gone for a Transcendence as their first item here. Usually we've seen Transcendence come out on some junglers, but like you said, it's little bit harder for these bursts to come in clutch. So we've been seeing some more just CDR in the first item as, again, just another attempt at a gank goes on through. And it just seems like it's poking tentatively right now at who can really feel out what on the others.
Yeah, and I think we've already seen twice now a couple of gank attempts. Imagine if this Raven had Blink for both of those gank attempts, would have been way more successful, I think. And I'm certainly not getting value out of the beads so far. I mean, to be fair, you're not going to look to all in a Raven with beads and the CC immunity, so that makes sense. But again, you want to use this pressure a bit more. But we're seeing some fighting in the mid lane. Basilius taking more poke than Sakura is.
Certainly, as actually Lupo has made a rotation as well.
Wow.
That's going to catch one out. Dharmic Pillars is used, and a beautiful wall. They're just going to all in at this point. No such luck coming in from rotation from Pinder, and some artillery fire from the home sweet home is good. Great first rotation out from the solo lane here. The fight will pretty much be done at this point. Huge Spear of Mortal Pain, but there's no follow-up from the rest of the VTubers Paradise.
I mean, this strategy of just focusing on Ganesh, it's worked twice, failed once. I mean, that was a massive, massive commit. And you can see why Pinada thought, yeah, I can go in here. I can get a big knock-up. Surely this is a good fight. When you've burned, what's that, 3 or 4 ults all on this Ganesh? Yeah. That's a recipe for a winning fight. Unfortunately, I think it was the poke beforehand that meant they kind of had to be a bit more cautious. They couldn't really go in as aggressively as they'd like there. And again, I think a lot of that goes to Sakura for poking out Arachne before the fight had even started, just hitting those chains. Great work from Sakura there. And again, that I wonder if the Manticore spikes were a big part of winning that fight before it had even begun.
I'd have to feel that it might be one of those sort of mental things of, oh gosh, they've got these spikes, they're going to be super aggressive, they're going to do so much damage. You almost don't want to step up to see if that theory holds true. And as well, my personal one was Freak Out. Throws out the home sweet home ultimates. They threw one into the mix in terms of killing Daisy. Everything else was on Zenico and Basilius. Just, you do not get to come in without taking a load of poke. So again, that same idea, recognizing that these guys, hey, we've got this kill secured. There's no worries whatsoever. You just make sure that we don't lose anything on the retreat there. So, like you said, Pinada comes in, huge ultimate potential. No follow-up there for them as now 10 minutes in, 2-1 on the score line. This is definitely feeling like one of those EU games, which I'm all for. But personally, I'm all for that. If this game ends at like a 4-5 score line at 25.5 minutes because one team just absolutely outplayed the map pressure, I am here for it.
Exactly. I kind of love these comps that we sometimes see where we see, oh, look at those chains. But again, I'm gonna divert slightly. One thing about these Manticore spikes, it's not actually a great applicator, the Ares, because obviously your cripples aren't actually applying it. I don't believe it's only really the ult, but we see a kill in the solo lane. But that does mean there's pressure on this Gold Fury.
And great work there from the Kinkais. They were already over this side of the map as well. Lucky is here and does have ult. Dharmic Pillars are being used. Kinkais will secure it. Big ult damage comes through with Home Sweet Home again, just dissuading any further follow-up here. VTubers will have to settle for this Pyromancer instead. And like you said, it was Basilius going for a gank over on the right-hand side. The timing was just unfortunate. Kinkais were never looking to be in that side of the map anyway.
Yeah, I do like that we're seeing, a bit of aggression from this Arachne. I still don't think it's necessary when you look at this jungle matchup, but decent work. They get a Pyromancer as well, but perfect recognition to say, hang on, there's 2 people here. Have a go at Gold Fury, and I would say that was a bit of a 50-50. That was very much ripe for stealing, but it didn't get stolen, so we'll say it was a good decision and a call well made.
I mean, we'd have been saying it was a good decision to call well made for VTubers if it had been stolen, but that's the fun about casting. Whatever happens, we got something good to say about one of the 2 teams in that spot as 2-2 on the score line. Gold-wise has been creeping up slowly. If we could actually just have a look at the graphs, I want to see just what the gradient looks like on that. Yeah, it's been a steady decline in terms of trend all in all, but that Gold Fury certainly has made a noticeable dent here into that. And when we're talking about these teams, we were looking at this like, this is the later game team. They're going to be wanting to fight a bit later. I'm surprised that it has been going quite so well for Kinsize.
I agree. I look at their picks and I just think I can't believe that they're managing to keep up. But we see Blink from Basilius, and it looks like it's a Blink to secure the purple buff, which I guess I respect that. Fair play. You've got the farm.
You got the farm. If Ram comes back in, then Loki was there as well. You'd get out the ults, and there'd be a lot to be able to go with there. But now we are going to see whether this Arachne can start putting some damage into the Ares. That is a good chunk of damage that it would chase out of them to about half health there. No need to worry about the chains when you can just out-damage them as a 1v1 goes into the duo lane. Ult traded out for ult. And whether or not Sase will be able to put any more damage in is unfortunately not looking to be the case. As solo lane as well has had a couple of ults traded on out. Mortem and Lupo trying to pressure out Pinada, who has been pretty safe this game. But now look at this. The Ares rotated on in. The chains and the flames force beads already. And the ult's too early, pulling them straight back in. Zenico in a world of trouble. Lupo will be the one who takes that one down. Pinada still trying to work on that rage transformation. Will now do so. But the overhead kick is good enough to immune the CC. And the damage just isn't quite there. 3 health bars in the red, but it's still one who's dead on VTuber's Paradise. And they're still now trying to just rally in some more troops to see if they can find anything. Freakouts here, as is Basilis. Home Sweet Home is used, but look at Lupo. They've come back in off of a teleport, and they're still trying to be aggressive into Pinada. And
this fight is just going to peter out, I think. It all starts from Zenico just getting super aggressive. Wow, Lupo's just chunking, and they're still looking to take this fight.
Look at that. Basilis ends up forced into the ultimate, over 100 health, barely. An invade will be going that way. No one can really deal with it, as Sase is starting to put the pressure onto Loki as well. But Lupo is refusing to let this one go, just trying to keep the pressure up. Diving past that tier 1 tower, now proxying with support from the rest of their team. This is King Kaiser's jungle right now.
Again, we go back to us. Whoa, solo kill for the Rama. That is not what you expect to see. I was going to say that I think we need to see the Fields of Love coming out just a little bit more proactively. But Sase has managed to eke out a tiny little lead. And from that, able to get the solo kill, that's a worry, especially when you're Cupid, because this Rama is only going to get stronger and stronger.
Shout outs to Asi and like Asi passive is absolutely fantastic. The pen's great, but Ikaval is the boxing wet dream of items. Steal the enemy attack speed, increase yours, huge power. And I love that we saw Sase pick this up first item, because for me, that screams the, if I don't fight early, it's fine. But if I do fight, this is great.
Yeah, it gives you all the options you want, because it's so difficult to box a Rama. I do think that this, this build that we see on the other side is certainly not a bad build by any means, but it does limit your damage potential. Again, we talked about burst earlier and how it's not as effective. Loki has a lot of burst, but if it doesn't 100 to 0 someone, Rama will win that, because those autos will be hitting way harder. As we see King Kaiser going to pick up the second Gold Fury of the game.
And they're hitting 155 a pop right now. No one else able to come on through at this point, as again, Arachne's over the other side of the map.
Nice.
Out comes the ultimate. Atomic Pillars is not going to be able to secure that. Again, we see the exact same play happen. And Lupo doesn't care. Like, Lupo's like, oh no, I died for Gold Fury. Okay, wake me up when something important happens, because Pyromancer isn't going to matter a whole lot. You've got the Trebuchet picked up as well for Kinkai's, and they're still looking to try and pressure out some of these towers. Duo lane's taken about a third already, and that's just sort of inconsequential minions walking in.
Yeah, that could have been exactly what happened. What was it, 5-10 minutes ago? Identical. I do like it. I like that you're putting pressure on Lupo, who so far has felt like a big threat that needs to be taken out. But to be fair, they have done it despite I mean, we do have a Pestilence online, but no anti-hit for Arachne. But it's been really effective. And generally, that's where they've had pressure, VTubers Paradise. They've had it on that right-hand side. I don't think Morton's been very proactive, especially with this double stacking build that we see. But of course, on the other side, all the pressures with Sase and with Sakura on this Ares, and as a result, they're kind of okay with that. They're taking these trades. They'll take Gold Fury every day of the week for me.
And now Pinada looking to try and take that pressure into another lane. Lockie's had enough of losing 1v1s.
Whoa!
We'll take the 2v1. Huge burst coming out, but I freak out just about able to get away. Huge. That is a 4-man Finn, or 5-man. No escape. They'll pull in back 1, but it's already getting a lot of beats and a lot of work done there. We are going to see the rotation now from Lupo. Let's see what they can do here. The health bars are incredibly low. Timing Pillars is there. They need one more shot, and Sase will end up falling to Pinada as this tower dive just keeps spilling on over.
And amazing Kakullan is destroying, but Lockie has gone so far into the back line, he's going to die behind the tier 1 tower. Shell is popped, Basilis gets stunned and taken down by Morton, and now VTubers Paradise are on the hard retreat.
Blink on over, Morton looking to cut off Pinada, and they will get taken out by Freakout, who comes on back in, the barest of HPs at this point. Lupo blinks in as well, gets the beads from Zenico, and Daisy is incredibly low once again, as these 4 members now trying to just keep the pressure going. But Lupo's a little worse for wear in terms of health. They will go ahead and take down that tier 1 tower. Pyromancer is off the table. I don't think Insai's quite have enough damage for a Fire Giant yet, though.
No, just a little bit too early. Fire Giant kind of slaps. They don't have quite the damage. I mean, Sase is going to be doing a lot to it, to be fair, but yeah, just a little bit too early. It's a bizarre fight, isn't it? Because it starts so well, and then suddenly I must have lost Lockie for a moment, who ends up behind the tier 2 really far with no health. And I staggered how that happened, and it felt like once you got that first pick, and that all came off a massive no escape, by the way. Once you got that first pick, I think VTubers Paradise just need to take the win and back out. Maybe just focus down the tower, little things like that. They need to get a bit more gold off the map. Whereas actually they kind of carried on a little bit too long, got baited into the fight, and as a result, we were able to see them kind of re-engage with Lupo coming back into the fight, and that was, yeah, it was an odd fight, but it is encouraging. So despite the deficit that they have, it's not huge, and they're clearly very capable of winning these fights if they can just be a little bit cleaner.
I definitely agree with you on that regard. Like, if you look at the terms of, like, the levels, it's pretty much all even. So don't put yourself at that disadvantage by just walking under and taking free tower shots. I think Lockie tried to go up and help Pinada, but unfortunately, like you said, just if that tier 1 tower's gone, then you can keep trying to fight that. Lupo can't TP in, you can't keep that going, and it's a whole different kettle of fish at that point, as Basilis will duke out that chain. Threats of kills were on the table as Kinsai seemed to be starting to get this roaming death squad of that 3 in mid combo starting to rotate in. As I mentioned, Fire Giant sort of looked at in terms of the Kinsai couldn't do it without Sase, but is Fire Giant a potential threat that VTubers have to worry about right now?
I don't think they have quite enough. Certainly not without getting a significant number of picks. It's just still a little bit too early, not quite enough items online. I am kind of looking at these builds, especially from Morton, who does now have all the stacks online, has the Arendite going into a Titan's Bane, which I really like. Will be chunking, and I think we're starting to see the effectiveness of this Raven. You know, they've got online now. We were talking about how their early game would be a little bit concerning. They've more than gotten through that early game. They've bossed it, frankly, and now they are certainly in prime position. If they can get a couple of picks, again, it's about burning those beads and then making the most of them. That's a lot of that is on Lupo. They are very capable of doing that, and if they can, then Fire Giant is definitely going to be under threat.
It is, but Gold Fury already at half health right now. It's VTubers who are here in numbers first, trying to pull this, but there's the blink from Lupo. Looking at
Whoa.
Zenico, Ramol as well from across the other side of the map is big, but Pinata and the front line of doing work. Big ults from the Ganesh, but it doesn't find a home as the artillery damage comes on through.
No.
But the Arachne's just 1v4ing and absolutely getting decimated. Lupo not having much luck either on that, but is at least tanky enough to walk back to the teammate for the rest of the support. Now the Kins are just going to keep on barreling this one down. The CC train of pain is in full schedule here, and there are no leap on through from Zenico is close, and a risky move. Locky will be able to turn this one back around with a good heart bomb, and Pinata might just be able to keep it going if the heart love bombs are good enough there. Locky has had enough. Locky is going to get a triple kill, almost a penta potential, but Sase says no such luck for that one. A 4-for-3 trade for a Gold Fury. VTubers Paradise have had enough of being on the back foot and losing these objectives on the left.
Unbelievable fight. So low for so long. I want to credit both solo laners, especially Pinada did some good work on the back line, but on the other hand, Lupo was able to basically stand and keep the two backliners of VTubers Paradise, just keep them out of the fight. And that meant they were able to burn. Basilius got burned down really quickly. Again, the backline shred that King Kai's have is just so strong between this Rama and this Baba Yaga. And again, it's all on these solo laners doing a really good job of just zoning and interrupting the backline. Great fight. This one's really interestingly poised. I still, that gold graph, I just don't believe it, because I think these two teams feel so evenly matched at the moment.
I have to agree with you there, and now Sase going back, finishing up their Silver Branch bow. Already hitting the attack speed. Kappas, hello! Interesting little look there. Mortem doesn't secure the Pyromancer, but will happily clean up the scraps. And now with that, Kinsai's, look where they're right back to. They're already going back towards the buff on this Gold Fury. Big fight attempt coming on through from VTubers. They will go ahead and force Freakout into a very low position. Zenico will flip the coin. 3 stacks now on that. Picked on up, but Locky is in a 1v1 potential with Mortem. Dash on through from Daisy might be enough. Out comes the Dharmic Pillars, but there's no one to find Mortem in the box at this point. Great work from Sase stepping on up, keeping no one else around. Spear of Mortal Pain can't land a home either, as No Escape pulls in several, but now it's up to Lupo. Blink on around the back, keeping everyone's attention on him. Great look there. Mortem sticks around, blinks on back in. Zenico ends up falling. Kin Kais refuse to let any member leave a fight if it ain't in a body bag.
Unbelievable. They're just running for the hills. Morton getting really aggressive. It all started with a 1v1, and Basilius is back to finish the job. Morton falls down, and now Lupo, way overextended. No mana is going to fall as well.
Like I said, the Kin Kais are not leaving a fight if it ain't in a body bag, refusing to back. It's a very deep push to try and take the kill onto Daisy. It may very well buy them enough time to go ahead and grab this, but no! VTubers Paradise grab the Gold Fury. Lucky will go ahead and take down Sakura as well. Trying to take the 1v1 to Sase as well. Not quite having as much luck, but there's no such thing as a 1v1 in Smite, though it could very well be at this point. That damage was way more than Lucky was expecting at this point, as Daisy will do what they can to buy them some time, but they are licking their wounds and hoping Sase does not find them.
Wow. These hunters are shredding. Builds are pretty much online. It certainly is for Sase. Really influential in that fight. I love what they're doing with these Rama ults and timing them really nicely with the engages from Lupo. But again, it's just about, they're just overextending just that little bit. Once you win that initial fight, just peel back. If there's a tower, get the tower. They still haven't taken tier 1 in Duo lane. There's a Gold Fury up. They just overextend just that little bit. And we've seen that from both teams already in this set. If they can just tighten that up a bit, they'll be fine. But that's what is keeping this game interesting, is just the little overextensions. And I think if both sides can work on being that tiny little bit cleaner, I don't know. I don't know which way this is going at the moment because these fights are
Yeah.
so frenetic.
I definitely agree with you. There is that 5,000 gold lead slashed back down to under half of that at 2,000 now. Fire Giant being looked at and flirted with by the VTubers at this point, looking for a potential pick. Pinada eats a little bit of damage from Lupo and trades it back in response. Ram is not here for this engagement, so if VTubers can sniff this one out, they may look for an all-in. They're going on to freak out at this point. They've burnt Beads and Aegis and Shell. Now they're just trying to go for the home sweet home. Brazilius will pick them up now. No escape, does not find anyone. Round the back, Locky gets taken out by Mortem, who jumped on in, and it's some good damage to turn around on the Kinkais. Whether or not they'll be able to find much more depends on how Sase does in this engagement. They've made the full rotation back from base, and they are just holding down that left click. Zenico getting chained and flamed away, walks straight on back into the damage from Lupo and ends up falling to it. Arachne round the back, took the long way into the fight, and it's DC'd out to death. It's all gone wrong. A deicide and a triple kill for the Hunter on Kinkais. Fire Giant has been deservedly earned for them. Meanwhile, in left lane, the Trebuchet is pushing down tier 2.
It's all fallen into place, and all that starts with Freakout getting caught a little bit out of position. The engage is fine. I think Freakout just lives way too long. It's really surprising. And then you commit so much. Sakura gets quite a big ult. Morton does work, and they're able to just burn down Zenico and Locky very, very quickly. Fantastic fight. They've got Trebuchet in the right place. They're actually not in position to push this Phoenix, which is a little bit unfortunate because they definitely could have gotten that, but they're playing it safe. They recognize that the gold lead is not as massive as it could be, given that they've just completely won the fight with a Deicide and a Fire Giant. They're playing it safe, but it looks really, really good for them now, and I think they are very much in the driver's seat.
Yeah, and you see there, just finishing it off, Trebuchet takes down the last tier 2 tower remaining. That 2,000 gold lead skyrocketed back up to 9,000 with the Fire Giant on 4 now as well. This is the situation where the entire map is open to them. It just feels like where they want to go. And if you are on that Kinkai side of things, where are you looking to push with this fire?
I really think they should be going for Phoenix. Obviously, the left-hand side Phoenix, from our point of view, is obviously the strongest one. It's side of the map to Fire Giant. That gives you pressure in that side lane if you can get fire minions pushing. That's, of course, the best one to get. But really, at this point, you need to break the base. I will say that VTubers, they have a it's a decent defense. Most of it is on Zenico and perhaps Daisy throwing out the Dharmic Pillars. But other than that, they have some good zoning tools, but I think Brazilius and Pinada could really, really struggle with sieging these, with defending these
Freak out
Phoenix
got caught by Basilio, but look at this. Blink, fear no, blink, no escape. I keep wanting to call it fear no evil. It's not Hombats. But at this point, Pinada, very scarily looking there, as Brazilius has to back on away. Like you mentioned there with Zenikos, just trying to get a little bit of pressure on these lanes, push those up with their little minions coming on through. Kinsais, though, have now grouped up as 5 to push down this left-hand side. Maybe they'll go ahead and stop off for a Primal Fury if they are so inclined to do so. And it looks like they're happy to just say that this first Fire Giant is get the structures. But with how quickly they took them, I'm really surprised they're not trying to push this more.
I'm absolutely surprised. I think, especially in that situation, I always say that Gold Fury isn't going anywhere. It's not going to be snuck from under your nose. There's no chance of that happening. All you're doing is you're giving VTubers Paradise just more time. But we are going to see a blink onto Zenico. He's in big trouble.
Very big trouble. Out comes the ultimate to stop the retreat. And Mortem will just go ahead and put the last nail in the coffin with their fist. Door was open, but no one's there. And like you said, Zenico gone. It's Fields of Love and Dharmic Pillars on the defense. There's a minion wave here as well. Locky is going to have to do a lot of work here, but they're chased out already. Fear no did it again. It's not Fear no evil, but Ares outpills up a lot. Big work, though, from Brazilius taking down the Ram in the back line and getting away from it, but the Phoenix is already gone. The damage is there. Pinada is doing work on the back line here. Ares is keeping the Cupid busy, but they're going to get turned on pretty quickly here and left high and dry as the rest of the team can do very little but watch as they end up having to retreat. They broke the base. Now let's hope they don't get broken in return. Pinada keeping on, just trying to put pressure on and on at this point, but they've got to be careful on the chase. There is still turnaround potential here. Lupo will end up falling as well. 3 members gone, only Morton left with the Fire Giant. Is that still okay for the Kinkais here?
Look, it's so important to break the base in with how difficult sieging is, although it certainly didn't look difficult there, did it? But it's okay. Again, we've talked about it already. Just overextending, overstaying your welcome. You've won the fight. You've got the Phoenix. You've got what you wanted. You've also burnt a lot of your ults, so you don't need to take that fight any longer. I understand why they do it. They have a numbers advantage for a little bit longer, but just take your win and back out. I think with how tight this game is proving to be, I think you do need to be a little bit more cautious with that. But still very happy. They'll still be in prime position for this Fire Giant. Fire minions will start pouring in. I will say VTuber's Paradise, they've done a good job of pushing out that left-hand side. It will buy them some time, especially if they put some Tiamat minions there as well. They can contest this Fire Giant, but the longer it goes on, and that's what Kinkais need to do, they need to stall it out and just wait for the map to sort itself out. And that's when you can take the Fire Giant for yourself.
Enhanced Fire Giant now down on the board and already being started.
No rush.
Sase is doing a huge job right now. They're just sat there, but they're the only ones fighting it. Just chip it down at this point. Daisy has eyes on it and so is aware of it. Lupo eats a lot of ire from 3 members here, not getting any support from the rest of the team. But look who they found. They found Sase, and he's immediately CC'd to death. Locky takes down Lupo as well. And with that, that's a double kill. Mortem takes them down. VTuber's Paradise said, to hell with waiting for the Fire Giant dance. We are taking this one by the reins. If this fight goes long, we lose it. So we take it quick, hard, and fast. They are the ones now pressuring for a Fire Giant. There are 2 members blocking out members at the mid-tier 2.
This is, we said, right? You need to wait on this Fire Giant because VTuber's Paradise, they know they've got a limited window of opportunity to fight into this Fire Giant. And Kinkais are like, okay, we'll fight into that window. They take a bit of poke from Fire Giant. That's never a good thing in a pure 5v5, which is what it was. And that's a losing formula for these fights. And I don't know, I'm staggered. Locky is doing a ton of work. I don't think, the fact that Locky doesn't even have that fight, neither does Zeno. Something needs to change there. And I think, we are seeing the struggles with Lupo kind of just not being able to tank as much as they'd like. But again, that's all irrelevant because it all comes down to them pulling Fire Giant when they didn't need to. They did not need to. Just chill out, take your time, let the map sort itself out. As we were saying, but it's easy to say that from up here where we can see everything.
There's a reason we're casters.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, the thing for me is you mentioned Locky doesn't have to use beat Aegis. Sase didn't even get a chance to use beat Aegis. They were dead in 1 knockup. Straight away, everyone dogpiled them, and Sase has got to recognize they cannot just casually walk up to the front when they have been doing that much impact for their team. Left side Phoenix has now respawned, and there's 8 Tiamat minions now pushing up, and a Trebuchet in mid, and now an Oni Fury has just spawned. VTuber's Paradise could not ask for a better siege setup if they programmed it into the game.
It's all turned completely on its head. They are well in control of this now. Everything's set very, very nicely. They'll have Oni waves, Tiamat minions, a Trebuchet to deal with. They don't have to worry about their own Phoenix. It's all working really, really well for them. I think their defense, if you're looking at the Kinkais, it is pretty good. I think Baba's very good on this, but again, Freak Out has been caught out a couple of times early on in these fights. But they're
going to pop the ult immediately at this point. Lupo eats about 1/3 of their health. Daisy gets pulled back in and locked down, but the Fields of Love are there to dissuade any further follow-up. Morton goes in with the ultimate to try and follow it up. Root Boot is there as well, looking to try and put out some damage from Astral Barrage from range is there, but it's not enough damage. Locky survives, and now it's clean up on aisle 1 for the Arachne, but they can't do so. They don't have enough damage. damage output. Lupo ends up picking them up. The Phoenix hasn't fallen, and so King Kai's will hold their base for now. Zeniko, the only one healthy enough to try and step on up. It's going to have to be hard, like those little love bombs coming in for the rest of the team, but keep an eye on who's rotating in. Lupo came in from around the back. They're going to blink on through. They found Lockie to try and keep this engagement going. Aegis comes on through, but Morton gets completely evaporated immediately. 2 crits just hit too hard. And now, once again, overextension. Lupo goes on in, Mortem goes on in, and immediately no one else on the team is available for it. Phoenix goes down, 4 members are still here. Zeniko's damage is doing numbers on these members, but it's unfortunately not quite good enough for them to be able to take the Titan. They will instead take the second Phoenix mid. Falls incredibly quickly. The rest of these members looking to just try and disengage. Pinadas goes on up aggressively, keeps everyone else away. So no matter how big that no escape is, no one is there to follow it up. Sase gets taken down in a 1v1. Pinada takes down 2, and that's going to be the game here. Sakura can do little but watch at this point as the Titan gets torn apart. VTuber's paradise. The early game, we said it was theirs. It was not theirs, and Kinkai's ran it. Late game, though, they grabbed the momentum. They pulled that game and said, we are not losing this. They will take game 1 in this best of 3.
Incredible 40-minute game, absolute slobber knocker. It's absolutely correct, right? We called that the VTuber's paradise would have all the early pressure. It was completely the opposite of everything that we predicted. And I think if we've learned anything from this unbelievable game 1, every time the engaging team lost, if that makes sense, every time the team that went on the aggressive, and we saw they defended their Phoenix, Kinkais. They defended it successfully. They got a pick, and then they decided to go back in. You're firing into a fire giant. The sustain was really, really a problem out of combat. And it meant that they took this fight that they didn't need to take, and that's kind of the story of the entire set.
I gotta agree with you on that one. And for what it's worth, Lockie had some interesting, difficult situations when put into the ROM in the 1v1. But we saw at about that sort of 16, 17-minute mark, they just went, oh, I'm losing 1v1s. Okay, then I'm just not going to take any 1v1s. Just started grouping with the team and really starting to make an impact. The Gold Fury steals, just recognizing that I need to be in the position to put my damage out, but not get blown up, which is what Sase had that difference is. Both of them were able to do their damage. Sase was blown up immediately. Lockie was so much harder to get to there. So going on into game 2 then, these two teams, if you were going to be on the side of Kinkai's, if you were coaching them for this, what would you be going back to them for this? Is this a draft change-up or mentality here?
I don't have a massive problem with their draft. I do think that the Cupid was a problem, despite losing lane, which was surprising. They got to that stage where the Fields of Love were way more impactful than anything Sase could do, and that's understandable. They didn't let Sase 1v1 anyone on this Rama. Kind of the same with Baba. They weren't allowing the backliners to free cast. It was really, really great target selection. So maybe you look for something not necessarily more safe if you're kin size. You know, Sase and Freak Out was certainly doing the damage, but maybe switch out the support and get something with a bit more peel potential, a bit more backline protection. That's probably what I'd be looking to shift up. But again, I'm not worried about their early game. I just think in the late game, if you allow these two backliners to just get off a little bit more damage, more effective damage, I should say, then I think they'll have a great chance. And I'm certainly not ruling out this going to 3 games.
I definitely agree, and if this is going to be going to game 3, then we're going to have to get to game 2 before that one. We're going to take a quick break while we go ahead and get that one set up, so if this would be a great time to go get yourself some water, stay hydrated, because I can guarantee you will not want to miss this game 2.
I'm that nemesis, thinking her shield is pure scale. War thunder biz, I got my scythe on me. Pray to God I don't hit it, or you'd be the one on the gray scale. Yeah, spitting buzzer buzz, might even though it is shy. Fuck me, I need a new purpose in life. Yeah, welcome back to speed, fountain gang, rise up, run it down, no regrets, spawn back at the fountain. Yeah, fountain gang, Mr. Thana won't get removed from the team, but unlucky we try again. Pure skill flowing down my veins. No pussy guys on my track. Yeah, we talk about you, Capri ugly ass, but give me a rest. Only thing you good at, you fucking old, but don't even get me started on you, Aries. Yeah, let's throw it back to some skill. Crucible, be my crucible bro. Spinning, flipping, pushing peace. My man knocks up woman on the daily while looking kinda hazy. What I wouldn't do to be my crucible bro. Spitting buzzer buzz, might even though it is shy. Fuck me, I need a new purpose in life. Yeah, I might be an old life, but you talking, walking, breathing, smile. Fuck man, you might need more help than me. You plebs are playing casual while I'm sitting in the Galarian League. I must be cooler, right? Never mind, casual's better than a bombshell. All the love to my boy princess, but babies ruined the list. Should have seen that coming when all the big egos come together, turning it into a competition on who can cry louder. What a shame, really guess we bout to move on. I'm sorry, SB, you fucking legend. All the love's spaced out.
So after 39 minutes of being beaten to a bloody pulp, VTubers Paradise say no more and take the victory 22-21 on the kill count. And with that, they're taking us into game 2 here. And King Size, they're in such a strange position. You were mentioning that it's like their draft didn't feel too bad. Like it was more like just a playstyle thing. And then one fight exploded into a victory for the VTubers here as coming into game 2, King Kai's are going to be going ahead and taking game 1. Are we expecting any ban changes here?
I don't think the only thing that I would consider switching out is maybe you have to ban the Cupid. The fact that you're King Kai's, you're now first pick, that's something you can take away from Loki, give it to Sase, and that gives Sase kind of a bit more team fight presence in the late game. But I'm perfectly happy with the Cupid being banned out because I do think that Loki showed that it's not just an early game pick. So very happy with that.
And you can see that Cupid respect banned away from the side of King Kai's here. King Arthur was one of the other ones taken off the table at the start. Nemesis, though, was a second draft ban by the King Kai's, and they put a lot of respect on this Nemesis here.
Yeah, I don't mind the Nem. I think she's been nerfed a little bit. I am more concerned by the fact that this King Arthur is open. I just think solo pressure is crazy, but that's blown my mind because Daji was completely ignored in game 1. Right, we're not crazy. No one looked at the Daji.
Ban.
And then now it's first picked when King Arthur's on the table. That does concern me a little bit. I think King Arthur is that strong. What I will say is that it means you get your pick of King Arthur or Cucullin. Because the reality is, VTubers Paradise, you can't take both of those picks. So at least you get one of those early game lane bully warriors. I still think King Arthur should win that, though.
Yeah, and the Ravan is also taken off of the table. That's likely going to be going into the jungle side of things to try and deal with this Daji. I am curious to find out how these builds are going to work. We did see a lot of work from Basilis going very hard and aggressive early, whereas we saw from Morton, they like to just go for a stacking, be around for the team fight side of things. So maybe we see something similar, maybe something completely different. Talking about completely different, say hello to the magical King Arthur. King Arthur as a bear RTO for likely the solo lane. It's been a very long time since I've seen an RTO support.
Yeah, and I think for good reason. Very good in solo. I don't like its support personally, but it's the classic kind of King Arthur. Well, I'll just pick a character with a cripple. This matchup has been going on for as long as these characters have existed. I don't think it's that bad for King Arthur. I certainly still don't think it's worth losing it, or giving it up, I should say, even if you've got the RTO in the pocket. The lane pressure is okay, of course. You can fight into it. Conduit Gem, great on RTO, and that's also very good for securing totems as well. RTO can do that very, very efficiently. It's the same kind of pick as this Cabrakan, isn't it, that we saw on the other side, but I don't know. I don't think King Arthur cares enough at the moment with how strong that character is. You just build Bluestone. You can go into Shield of Regrowth when you're against a magical, and I think that's a perfectly good option. I just think this character's too strong, and I don't know if Artia will be enough to knock the king off of his throne.
We'll have to keep an eye on that as through the second phase of bans. Ganesh taken off the table via the VTubers Paradise, as well as Ulra, or is Chiron Discordia by the King Kai's. Jingwei is the lock-in they have opted for here to pair that with a Ymir. This is an interesting one. Jingwei, very passive farmer. Ymir, very good early farmer as well, so could potentially be very interesting to see how that lane ends up working between these kind of polar opposite dynamics. But then again, what are Kinsai's bringing to it? They don't have aggression from Chiron. They don't have the kind of aggression with Ulra. So instead, they say, all right, you want to farm to late? Let's farm to late. Sase looked pretty damn good on these late game hunters, so let's go ahead and give them the Apollo.
It's a very Sase style pick, it seems. I quite like the Apollo, and I also like the fact that the Kinkais just kind of have their pick over what they want. They get to counter pick in this dual lane. Yamoja is always good. There's never a bad Yamoja game for me. Just such a stacked kit, I think, with so many things that she does, like so much CC, so much utility, healing, everything. Great builder of Fabulous Hoops, Lotus Crown. That makes Yamoja really, really strong. Not really concerned about Ymir. I think I really like this dual lane from the Kinkais. I'm going to see Persephone potentially last picked here.
And that's one that we've not seen a lot of in the mid lane. And you mentioned the Yamoja, or like Daji going from last ban to top pick. Yamoja not banned at all, and somehow makes it all the way down here to 9th pick between the two. But Persephone will round out the draft for the VTubers Paradise. And looking across these two comps, I'm feeling kind of the same idea as last game. Early looks kind of good for VTubers. Late game team fight looks really good for Kinkais. But as it gets to these sort of like big team fight scraps, with how these two teams are playing, either one of them can get the upper hand quite effectively.
Yeah, what I will say is that I think VTuber's team, they have a lot of really annoying lockdown, and they will be able to get single target picks very, very effectively, even if it's just onto Yamoja or Artio in the early game. Just they have so much single target lockdown, it's going to be really difficult to deal with. It's a lot on Sakura on this Yamoja to see how well you can peel, which I think is going to be difficult, because when I look at Apollo and I look at Morrigan, they're not necessarily the safest gods. Now, they do have an element of self-peel, but when you're getting Blink knocked up into a King Arthur ult immediately, there's nothing you can do. You can't react in time to use your self-peel, and so that's a bit of a concern for me.
A little concern, freak out very far forward, just to trying to poke out and see where everyone is at this point in time. But it is going to be everyone where expected, no fireworks coming on out. But again, Morton has opted for these beads, and on the Daji, not quite as safe, is understandable, but even so, you'd really want that blink to try and start something level 5.
Yeah, I think so. And as you said, the level 5 value is where Daji can be very, very strong. Before that, not so much. But yeah, maybe I think you can definitely get away with the blink. You just have to be very careful with when you use your ult. As long as it's up and available, you should be able to hop out of the CC no problem. So I don't mind the beads as much on a Daji, and I'm happy that we've got blink on this Raven. But level 2 and Daisy gets a double freeze.
Good double freeze, and the whirlwind as well causes some trouble for Sase. That's a lot of damage coming on through. Lockie's really putting out the work, but here's some early pressure to the duo lane in the solo side of the map as a 2v2 starts to go ahead. Morton will dissuade further follow-up there, but Lupo more than happy to keep pressing forward here into Brazilias. Very scary look here. And you mentioned this back with game 1, how there's a lot of pressure usually looked at to solo side. That's kind of the first major engagement we've seen there this early.
Yeah, we're seeing it more and more, this kind of 2v2 in the solo lane. I am surprised by how far back Pinada was. Like, King Arthur has one of the best level 2s in the game.
Double freeze again?
Comes through from Daisy, but they're happy to heal through it. Yamoja's got a little bit of sustain, even if it's just those autos. We'll be helping out. Sase dashes in, getting aggressive onto Loki.
Trying to knock up is good there as Daisy is getting a little too low. Good freeze onto the right target, and we'll be able to just about make it back to the safety of the minions. No such luck being able to penetrate through that one, as now they're just looking to try and stick around, get some more of that healing through from that Sentinel's gift. We've got to be a little careful right now. Health bars are low and could be picking potential here for these junglers, but both of them now seem to be more interested in farming, especially Mortem, who's gone for an invade here.
Yeah, I like this. One thing I will say, it's interesting that this blue buff has been invaded. We've got the earrings for Pinada, the tier 1. Very cheap item, but obviously they only give MP5 as a stat. And it's not really something I'd be looking at in solo lane, but Sase has dashed through and misses the free dash. He's really low. Wow.
Good work there. Pincer maneuver. I was concerned that we saw the dash there and Sase was so low. Daisy did not have the mana available, or maybe already had used the freeze. So incredible work. First blood going for the Kinkais. Shades of game 1. It's not onto the support this time, but it's even worse. It's onto the Apollo.
Yeah, that's got to be a concern. Now, you will say that if there's one character in the game that doesn't mind about being put behind, it's Loki on this Jingwei. Jingwei able to get back and recover farm better than any other character. So it could be a lot worse. Obviously, you don't want to lose that first blood. The shell was just a fraction of a second late from Daisy. Perhaps would have saved Loki's life, and then maybe you've got an overextended Sase that you can turn on. But happy with that. Yeah, it's a curious one. As we go, see actually pressure. This is the King Arthur pressure.
Oh, caught the dash. Wow. No, but the minions! Minions get it just in time. Pinata ends up falling. I was going to say, the fact that you caught the dash there from Lupo was absolutely huge. You have to time that as they dash to stop them in their tracks. If you root them, they'll still dash through. But great work there. But Pinata just stuck around a little bit too long. Not able to tank up those minions as much as they needed to, so ends up trading out 1 for 1. And it's a full back and buy up for the Breastplate of Valor for Lupo. Meanwhile, Pinata is sat on that tier 2 right now, and it doesn't feel quite as good for them.
I think this is a real concern if you're VTuber's Paradise. This is not what you need for a King Arthur. I go back to the earrings pickup. I'm not a fan of it when you've got a blue buff. I just don't think it's necessary in solo lane at all. I know you want to get the manticore spikes, but I think you just rush Shield of Regrowth here. And again, we're not going to see that. So also, this will make it more of an incentive for Morton to come over and try and gank Arthur. In fact, Morton is on this right-hand side. Pinata, of course, has the beads. Again, I'm not a big fan of the beads. I think you need TP in it, and it's proven by the fact that Lupo obviously had that teleport available. That 1-for-1 trade was not even just because of the teleport.
Gotta agree with you on that regard as well. And like you said, the Mail of Renewal is a very interesting pickup, especially into these Guardians where they don't have a lot of penetration early. It just stalemates the lane, which if you're a King Arthur means you've got that fallback of whoops, messed that one up, but it's fine. I've just recovered 15% of my health. As we do see now, Gold Fury has spawned, as have these Scorpions. Both these two teams were pretty good in terms of grabbing these fairly early, but as we look over, we do see Brazillus has that first Jotun's Wrath item picked up. They're going to go ahead and try and strip away some of this farm. And Sase has no chance to be able to stop it here, as Loki has found this sort of nice ebb where they're not too far behind now. Yeah,
it's as we talked about with Jingwei. She's able to just swoop on back in, get that farm off the map, despite the fact that the Daisy seems to be sharing just that little bit more. That's just the power of Jingwei, I guess. But I also wanted to look at Basilius as some aggression onto Sakura. Completely different build to the Raven build we saw last game from Morton, but jump in.
Hold that a sec, Morton. Trickster Spirit's on in, up into the Pow Lao. Big Persephone ult comes on through, but the overhead kick will be enough. The River's Rebuke might try to answer it back. There's a lot of damage coming on through. The King Arthur will be able to pick up one. Lupo, though, ends up falling down, and Pinata will be able to disengage for a little bit there. Trickster Spirit gonna close the gap, but there's just too much distance being able to put away. Dice of Ice, however, in this mid lane, in a little bit more trouble. Gets caught on out by some of those sigils, and with 3 members around, it's just about buying time. Dice of Ice will end up rolling a nat 1 there. Sakura picks up the kill.
Yeah, really, really interesting. I think we saw the power of the King Arthur, just so dominant with this Bluestone build. Absolutely chunks, as we see. Also, this Scorpion invade. So that means that King Kai's have effectively taken both Scorpions off the map, and that's something we don't often talk about as much. They're kind of just there, and you take them whenever they're up. But they add up, especially when you're able to steal them. You know, we often see like massive commits just to try and steal or secure one of these early Scorpions, and that's a pretty good look for the Kinkais. It's a solid early lead. I'm not concerned if I'm VTubers Paradise, not quite yet, but I do think that they're gonna struggle if they fall any further behind.
Well, it might be looking to do so. Blink in from Basilis. Was attempting to go for a steal, but they have multiple members with them. Nice wall.
Nice.
And another double freeze comes up big. 10-hand will not be used. There's the Mystic Rush over the side, and Sase just gets completely deleted there. No such luck of being able to disengage. And talking about some of this duo lane, as we see the milking of the obelisk, as is required. Might be in a bit of trouble, though. Daisy will end up being chased out by 3 members. Big wall as another 2-man freeze again. Potential to turn it around means that Kinkais will back this one out. But a curious option here. Lucky with that first item dominance. Talk to me about this one. Not an item I've seen picked up first here, as Solo might be having a bit of a spaff.
No, just faked solo lane slapping, but it is something that I've seen a little bit, and Dice of Ice needs to be very careful. Got the slow and a good Riptide as well, but Morton not interested in taking that fight. But yes, this dominance pickup is something we sometimes see from even high-level ADCs, but I think it's actually a decent stat stick, and the further along in a game you get, the more useful it's going to be. And I suppose you're not looking to fight Apollo at the moment, as those autos from Sassy are absolutely chunking. Dominance isn't going to help with that, but it's not going to hinder your late game either, I suppose. So on a character like Jingwei, I suppose I don't mind it.
This could be a problem. Pinata secures their buff, but can't secure their life. Will beats out a stun, but it will not save them from the damage here, as Basilis is also getting chased out. We've seen this exact kind of play before, but it was I Freak Out or Dice of Ice that was in some trouble. The Paolavo catches them, pulls them back on through. VTubers, yeah, they are not happy about how the early game went last time. They are trying to turn it back around. But even so, Kinkais are the ones who have been doing a fantastic job the last couple of minutes here.
I'm just concerned. And we talked about the King Arthur, and falling behind was really detrimental. The fact that the Pinata doesn't have any real physical defense online yet, Morton's just absolutely shredding. We talked about a different build for Basilius, and while I like the more early aggressive option of this Jotun's Wrath, the Daji is just proving a little bit too powerful. Not even looking at any of these squishy characters, just looking to punish this King Arthur, and that's exactly what I'd look to do, especially with how good a start Lupo had in that solo lane.
Got to agree with you there, and like you mentioned, solo lane's all about early pressure. I want to see that early pressure come somewhere else.
Yes.
Thankfully, Pinata does have a Trebuchet helping them out a little bit, so I don't think we'll be seeing Lupo rotate too much just yet. But once that's dealt with, I want to see these. I want to see looks at Gold Fury. Like that doesn't feel like too far of a stretch for the Kinkais right now, right?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think they're playing their early game better than you'd expect, and I think I do want to point out that there was this a build aspect that I really wanted to point out. It's this conduit gem for the Morgan Le Fay. Normally, it's all about, as we see a cripple onto Pinada. Morton's around, and I like this pressure, but not sure anything's going to come of it quite yet. Just to take down that Trebuchet instead.
Well, we'll keep our eyes over that side of the map, but I do agree the Conduit Gem, a lot of extra damage, but the Do2 wanted to end up taking a fight. Pinata gets crippled out and put incredibly low. The tower dive is there, and Ludpo will pick it on up. No luck on being able to pull in Basilis at this point. Overhead kick is too good. They will try and take this up, but the blink cancels out the Trickster Spirit, but they blink forward, meaning that Basilis still ends up right in front of Mordem.
That was a very strange interaction, and that all starts from getting aggressive on this Artio, who you have no chance of killing. Beads are forced, and that's pretty good, but Sakura's here, and Sase's here as well.
It's going across the skies. Where are they looking to try and head at this point? It's Pyromancer. All right, fair enough. I mean, you can go ahead and start this one up. River's Rebuke will shut out anyone else from trying to get on in, as it does look like Daisy is taking a little bit of damage at this point, but shredding it back on
Oh,
through.
no.
The ultimate from the Grasp of Death ends up hitting the straight wall.
Oh.
It catches one, and Morton will end up falling to Dice of Ice, but it takes a lot. Pinatas will pick up I Freak Out, meaning it's a 2-for-none trade out for the Pyromancer. But even so, that was still a 2-for-none trade out that started that in the first place, leaving this whole big mess as a 2-for-2 and a Pyromancer in favor of King Kai's. My question to you, Zats, does that favor anyone in particular?
I think it favours VTuber's Paradise, but and as I say that, they're going to go for this Gold Fury. Sase is around, and health bars are not the healthiest.
Certainly not. Big wall comes up through, and
Well,
VTubers grab themselves that Gold Fury, going ahead and closing that gap once again. Still sat at around 2,000 gold for now, and I gotta agree with you where you mention it. It's like that favors VTuber's Paradise, A, in terms of, okay, they don't get Pyromancer, but they get gold, but B, they're the team that's technically behind right now. To say you trade out even, that's gotta be a good feeling.
Absolutely. And I think it all comes down to they're able to get the beads off a Freak Out absolutely freely. And I think that just stepping up a little bit too far forward. And at first you thought, okay, you've got the beads, but it won't really matter. But it absolutely mattered because VTuber's Paradise recognized that. They knew the beads were down. And as a result, the Morgan Le Fay was taken out very, very quickly in that fight. It did feel like a sort of odd fight to take. You know, we saw Sase ulting over for a Pyromancer. Is that worth it? I mean, I guess it's okay. There was some zoning work going on, but it still felt like a big overstay. And the fact that Dice of Ice was also able to get a really good pick as well was massive.
There might be another one as well. Daisy trying to
Big
just walk back
ol'.
to the safety of their tier 1 tower in mid. 4 members around, pulled on back in, and now 5 members end up taking them down. Big engagement for it, but a blink for blink. Basilis can't chase this one out. So with all said and done, it is a clean pick onto Daisy. Like I said, they invest 3 ultimates into that and a blink just to make sure it stays a 1-for-1.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a stat for the most ulted person in this set, because I know who's winning by an awful lot this game. Daisy
I mean, yeah,
soaking up ults.
I mean, you include last game as well. What, like every Fear No Evil? I did it again. Every No Escape. It's in my head right now. My brain has decided that Fear No Evil is Harry's ult. It's because you mentioned it was a beads burner. My brain, yes, Fear No Evil's a beads burner. But no, every No Escape, there we go, got it right, it was pretty much targeted on them. And they have been suffering from it. I wonder whether or not this could be a problem for VTuber's Paradise if this game keeps going later. They're already a level behind, and surely Ymir can't afford to get too far behind, right?
No, definitely not. Very easy to pick Ymir, especially with the amount of kind of CC they have that can displace you. You know, we're looking at the fears and the Daji pulls, the freeze just off the mark, but there's no killing Lupo at this point. Very, very tanky. He's doubled down on physical defense, which I kind of like. Now going into regrowth, that at that point you really will be unkillable.
Yeah.
I just think this item is so strong, and it allows supports and solos to tank for so long because it gives double prots of both kinds, loads of healing if you can get the passive off. It's unbelievably good item, and I'm surprised we haven't seen it on King Arthur. I'm not a big fan of this build. I think I talked about the earrings before. It slowed down this King Arthur's build, and as a result, Lupo now has a 2-level lead over King Arthur, and that's not what you expect to see from this pick. That was top picked, and actually given away by Kinsize, and then top picked by VTuber's Paradise.
I agree certainly on that regard. These King Arthur has kind of been underpinned a little bit. 3-3 though on the scoreline. They have been showing up to these engagements when they've had the opportune moment to do so, as Basilis, the other one of the 2 top picks here for VTubers, having a not quite such a good time as well, but just full pen from the build. Very reminiscent of some of the older builds here, and you can see just how effective it's going to be if they can land some of these damages. It's good work there into this 2v1 situation. They will get the last hit, but they might be able to find a little bit more as Sakura was there to try and help Peel if they'd have been able to get there in time, but it's very interesting seeing where VTuber's Paradise are right now. Pinata left on their own a little bit. We are going to see another milking of the obelisk. Pinata will get their ult forced by Morton, but Morton ult down is pretty good in that instance, and now they're going to try and regroup onto it. It's a 2v3 situation. Pinata cripples on out the RTO, but gets crippled in return. So instead, VTubers are just happy to take this space created and look at Pyromancer for free.
Yeah, Lupo is not taking any damage.
Morton?
Has the beads as well.
Oh,
Nice
no.
stun. Morton's nearly dead. Oh, the cripple.
Just about able to get away. Paradise will pick up the Pyromancer as they finished off the obelisk as well. So they've got left side Trebuchet and an Oni Fury coming up as well, coming into the 20-minute mark? No, the 18.5-minute mark. And the game has tied up even slightly in favor of VTuber's Paradise right now. And their mid lane looks really quite good, or their mid game looks really quite good, especially with Locky. I was concerned like, oh, you don't build dominance first item, you need transcendence to box early. But this mid game, they've got like 45% pen. No one is tanky.
Yeah, and again, Jingwei farms so well, a level up despite an early death to Sase. And that's also a problem for Apollo, who will certainly be swinging, but we saw Locky actually able to match the damage coming out from this Apollo, and that's a scary situation. If you're Jingwei, who doesn't scale quite as well as an Apollo, I would say, is able to not necessarily out-trade, but able to keep up in terms of hitting those auto attacks and doing enough damage. Obviously, they had Basilius over there for that earlier gank. That's going to help as well. But this Jingwei does need to be shut down. And I don't know who's able to do it, because I don't think Daji quite has enough tools to do that.
Potentially breaking out into the mid lane. All 5 members fighting on both sides for the Gold Fury. River's Rebuke comes out, as does Pal Lao. Picks up 2, pulls both back in.
Whoa.
But they're still tanky at this point in time. Pinata finally makes their way into the back line to try and put damage. Frenzy, though, as the junglers take a 1v1 trade out here. Basilius is able to take it as well, but the health bar is just about too low. Not
Nice
quite
wall.
dead. Almost so, as Daisy cuts off the retreat. Through the skies goes the Apollo. They'll find one, but it's the other side of the map. And so that pulls out all of this engagement. Meanwhile, Kinkai's looking to pressure down the mid lane. There's Beast Force, huge wall as well. Keeps Lupo put under the tier 1 tower for a little longer, but it is still just a 1-for-1 trade out. That said, because Locky was forced back so far, Oni Fury is being looked at by King Kai's. Everyone knows that it's going on. Whether or not anyone can get there in time, we'll have to see. There's blink from Pinata to keep them going through, but it's Sakura who's tanking this up. Oni Fury is stolen away by the VTubers, and now they're looking for a continuation on the fight. Freezer on the
Whoa.
back as Pinata and Locky putting in the damage, take down another one.
Double stun from King Arthur into the damage from Locky. Full pen, as we said. Now got the King Kai's online. Lupo on their own. No beads available. Nice cripple from Pinata. And the shred coming through from this Jingwei. It's oppressive now. Someone needs to deal with Locky.
Pretty disgusting fight coming out all in all, and the fact that it spills for so long over so much, that was a super long extended engagement of the junglers taking each other out into then the Gold Fury by Kings. It's such a difficult situation because you ask, well, where did this go wrong? But it just felt like no one took a moment to breathe, and so both teams were like at the end of that engagement. I mean, I certainly was, because I didn't cast the whole thing.
It feels that, again, they struggle in the early game, but the longer this goes on, the more comfortable VTuber's Paradise feel. And that perhaps suggests maybe their comms are a little bit better, their calls are a little bit more coordinated, because that tends to help you sort of in these team fights. And to be fair, their engages have been really good. Pinata has been getting some great ults off despite the early problems. I think we're still seeing how scary this King Arthur can be. And fair play to Locky as well, who's been actually being able to follow up with that setup really nicely, which is not something you see from your ADC, especially a Jingwei. But Locky knows that they're on a very, very safe character, and as such, you're able to kind of dash in and do a lot of damage because you know that no one on the map, not even the tanks, can withstand your damage.
All right, Morton's ult force doesn't even try for the turnaround, just disengages. And I gotta agree, like, you say about Loki and the stuff that they were able to do, it's that safety and trust in their team. But the fight as well, it was, guys, we've already picked off the Apollo, there's no across the skies, they're doing the Gold Fury. That, like, we've got eyes on everyone, you are safe and comfortable, and with Pinata there as well, just constantly barraging forward. We mentioned this King Arthur didn't have such a great time in the laning phase, but looking at what they've done in this team fight phase, it's a whole nother story, and they've really turned around the team perspective on this King Arthur.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think we are seeing the difference between the King Arthur and this Guardian pick in the solo lane. You're not able to do the same amount of damage that any warrior is able to do with the Manticore Spikes and the Glad Shield. Makes you incredibly tanky, but your damage is still incredibly relevant. And as soon as we see the Bluestone Brooch online, which is a crazy good item on anyone, but especially King Arthur, the damage will just go up and up and up. Whereas Artio, not able to match that. Very tanky, but not able to match the damage output from Pinata, despite a level lead.
Oh, and Mortem not able to quite deal with Basilius damage. Again, forced into the ult early. Will not be able to pull Basilius on through.
Whoa.
But Freakout finds him. Great blink into Excalibur's Wrath. Picks up Mortem. But the rest of the team is there to go ahead and peel for it. Loki dived in deep, but tries to reposition themselves as Dicevive takes out Freakout. And now is just this frontline fight. But no one's paid attention to Sase until they already pick up Loki in that engagement. They're trying to keep this fight going. And it's all about trying to get to this damage dealer at this point. They're not free casting by any means necessary, but the damage is just unanswerable. Pinata just about able to disengage the wall, not able to cut down the retreat. Pinata will get rooted out ever so slightly, and the dive is there, but again, they just can't find a home for these autos until Dice of Ice starts eating like 4 autos and immediately getting shredded down.
Apollo is absolutely chunking and not being paid close enough attention to. But you also have to say, Lupo, just as I was saying that Zartia was struggling a bit more, the cripple field in that fight was unbelievably valuable. Crippling out King Arthur from that spin. I think Dice of Ice, obviously struggling to get out, was able to shut down Loki again. Loki dying before even having the chance to use those relics. They're still available and ready to use, but I have to look at the cripple and the CC coming from this Artio. Lupo doing a really good job and just kind of allowing Sase to really flex their wings. And as a result, they've kind of taken back initiative. They've closed it down just a little bit.
A little bit is sometimes all that they're going to need, as the Trebuchet in left did go ahead and take down the tier 1 tower, but Morton was able to go ahead and finish that one off without too much issue. Gold Fury is available, or rather the Primal Fury is available, which would help on the Fire Giant. The question is that really what either of these two teams wants to look at? And judging by where everyone's collected, Fire Giant seems to be more of a focus here. And is this a just burn the fire, or is this a pick kind of a situation for this dance?
I think there's rarely a situation where you can try and burn fire when there's all 5 members of the enemy team up. It's just so difficult to do. Unless you have like a Fafnir and double ADC with a Frenzy, it's not going to happen. But Morton taking a ton of down. Wow, Loki's shredding!
Absolutely, the explosive bolts leading explosive damage. They've noticed that Sase is over on the left-hand side, trying to just take down this tower. Has the ult available if things get hairier, but this is technically a 3v5. But look at how well Kings are playing this. They're just causing so many issues in terms of the dive. They're taking so long to find any of these kills, if they're finding them at all at this point. Members from VTubers Paradise have finally started to make their way towards the Fire Giant, but even so, Sase is already knocking on that Phoenix. They may trade out the Phoenix at this point. If they actually secure it at this point, they might be ending up trading this. This is going to come down to Lupo here. VTubers grab it at this point as Pinata is trying to 2v1. The rest of the team has kind of left them high and dry, though. And so Pinata will have to disengage from this one, but even so, Fire Giant on VTubers Paradise, not getting the chance to just back for free. King Kai's go ahead and push up left to its entirety. Left Phoenix taken down. This is Not going to be an easy push for VTubers Paradise.
No, and I think I'm kind of happy with that. It's good recognition from the Kinkais. They lost Morton really early in the fight. Lockie's just a nightmare at this point, and is now building into some crit as well. If you felt you could tank a couple of autos, they'll be swinging for even more. But good recognition, Sase. This is the strength of Apollo, right? Gets the split push off. Doesn't even need to ult in because they kind of give up fire, which is fair enough when you're in a 3v5. I'm happy with the call. I think they played that as well as they could. And they also did a good job of making sure that specifically Pinada and also Basilius weren't able to back in time to defend that left Phoenix. So I'm happy with that. It feels like a pretty even state of affairs now. They've lost FG, but they've opened the base, and the fire minions will now pour down that left-hand side, which is exactly where you want them.
And look at the way that they're playing. This is very much like the old NRG levels of play from before where, okay, they've got Fire Giant. Do we want to defend this? No, we can't defend this. So let's go ahead and split the map. Let's not just sit on our hands here. They'll go ahead and take up this left side. And now they're concerned from VTuber's side saying, hey, we have to now defend our right side Phoenix. That pretty much hampers any kind of major push going further forward. Members from Kinkai's will disengage. They'll trade out tier 2s across the board, and across the sides goes Sase, who might look to try and keep an engagement going. This would be a very ballsy maneuver. They do go ahead and land it in, but it could be looking good for them at this point. Daisy is going to be pushing up daisies at this point. That's a double kill and a turnaround there. The duo lane for VTubers Paradise. Well, let's hope wherever they are right now is Paradise, because it certainly won't be for the rest of the team trying to just push up now in a 3v5.
Oh, and I thought Sase was crazy, but that's a good old ton of damage. But Dice of Ice forced to use the beads. And they're kind of re-engaging. They feel they have momentum.
Oh, the River's Rebuke is absolutely perfectly placed at this point in time. No such luck of a Phantom available to them. Grasp of Death, though, from downtown knocks down Morton. But it's a 3-for-1 trade out at the end of the day in that engagement. Not comfortable going home with this one. Kinkai's will go ahead and knock down the last tier 2 tower remaining for the VTubers Paradise. Will be a back door. And it may not have been quite so clean, but VTubers Paradise have had their siege halted in its tracks.
I really thought Sase was going to die on that left-hand side. Turns it around, recognized that Lupo's on the way as well. They play the numbers game. They're outnumbering VTubers Paradise, and that's what you can do with Apollo. That's the power of the Apollo. It's never a clean fight because Apollo can always turn up and ult in. From that, they kind of just get the momentum. Nice work from Morton. Get the beads and hits all the shots onto Dice of Ice. It was, and that's a bit of a scare for Dice of Ice. You recognise that this Darji is going to be swinging with this full penetration. All the maces have been bought by Morton. Absolutely shredding. It's still very precariously balanced, and I like what Lockie's doing, just pushing out these fire waves. I do think that they could have done a bit more with this left-hand side pressure. You know, once you got a couple of picks, maybe push down that left-hand side just a little bit more. Maybe try and put some pressure onto this left-hand side Phoenix once again before Fire Giant spawns. But they've still got time. No more fire minions. That's unfortunate timing for them. But I don't know. It's going to come down to this, what is now an enhanced Fire Giant. Gold is pretty much even. Experience, pretty much irrelevant at this point. It's going to come down to this one final fight at FG. And I don't know which way it's going to go.
Again, like last game, it was very much in favor of Kinkai's. All they had to do was one fight at a Fire Giant, and that was the game. Unfortunately, VTubers Paradise took that game from under the rug at this point in time as Fire Giant comes crashing on down. This enhanced Fire Giant is one that both teams really do want to fight over. But keep an eye on the left-hand side. Both hunters over that way for now. Jingwei can back and fly over. Apollo could go ahead and throw the ult if needed, but for now it's just tentative. Poking out, not letting things get too far, and if we're talking on poke trades here, one of these teams has a healer, the other one does not. both these junglers no longer have their blinks. They both got a little scared there. And does this healing start to matter in this Fire Giant dance is my question.
Yeah, I think it absolutely does. But
Zealous?
Basilis is coming around the right-hand side.
Zealous?
In a lot of trouble.
Could be, but some big shells coming on through. A lot of ultimates used in the River's Rebuke, but Basilis is still trying to dive this. They've got Pinata trying to follow it up with them in a 3v1 situation now, but Morsom is keeping everyone else busy. Basilis cannot sit in this engagement. Apollo's coming in through across the skies and will find to try and keep Basilis even further out of this and takes them down. That's a big start after this engagement. King Size looking for anything else they can find. They may be looking into that right-hand side where they can try and find Dice of Ice with no beads. They're going to cut off the retreat as well. It's all going to come down to the damage as Sase ends up taking a huge damage, but Morton's there to clean up the kill. 2 members gone for VTubers Paradise, and if this gets any worse for them, it could just be game completely. Great Aegis from Sase means that 3 for none is the total scoreline in that fight.
I think VTubers Paradise have just about done enough to stall them out. I think there's a risk, a genuine risk that you lose the game there, but instead they've stuck around for this. It's a 2v4.
Lucky beads Aegis ult force. Daisy does not have the luxury of going up and over a wall. Riptide keeps them in place as well. 3 members around for them. They may be tanky, but I don't know if they're that tanky at this point in time. Rooted and booted. I freak out. Picks up Daisy quite poetically, as I believe now Fire Giant is most certainly going to be looked at here.
Yeah, Sase has pulled it. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. And again, plenty of sustain from Sakura on this Umoja. Got the Fabulous Hoops, the Lotus Crown. I love this build that Sakura's done. Just get the Magi's pop there, but we won't worry about that. Enhanced Fire Giant has gone to the Kinkais. It's all in their favor, so it's turned around once again.
It has, and there's all 3 lanes totally open and available to them. The left side is weakened. I will wonder whether or not they will stop off and head towards this Oni Fury, or if VTubers Paradise want to try and steal that one away first. Trebuchets are a possibility at this point. I won't say they're a threat right now until one team clears them up, but we saw how it was for just Sase to be able to walk in and take it uncontested, but how is defense here for Paradise?
I think Persephone is good. I think King Arthur and Raven struggle a lot, but the big key for defending these Phoenixes, your Ymir wall, is unbelievably underrated for defending these Phoenixes, and I hope we see it. Just able to block off those autos from Sase, that's all you have to do. If you can do that, let Persephone clear the wave. It's going to be really, really difficult to break the base. The only problem is Pinata might struggle to engage, does have the blink available, but it's difficult to stack up that charged ult when you're sat under your Phoenix and not able to step up to clear waves. So I think VTubers will be happy. We'll see if this wall can be really, really valuable here.
It's going to have to be at this point, as Oni minions
Not
pushing
confident.
up. The Darji looking to try and push up and split at least 1 or 2 members away. It will be Basilis who opts to try and take this 1v1s. Both builds pretty much complete at this point in time. And now it's just that little bit of pressure. This is what we wanted to see from them first game around that Fire Giant. Just hold it out, let the map sort itself out with pressure. Big walls on both sides, but it's Lupa around the back who's causing more trouble as the 1v1 in mid spills on through. Big grasp of death, but even bigger work coming through from this Morgan Le Fay, keeping everyone in trouble. Phoenix sits at half health at this point in time, but so do many members of VTubers Paradise, so they have to disengage and lick their wounds. Lucky gets caught in a bit of trouble. Nice wall again. Blocks a little bit of this work here. Pinata goes in with a big knock-up, but immediately gets knocked up and put back down again. It's exactly like you said at this point in time. Sakura picks up Daisy, and with the Phoenix gone, it's just the Titan that honestly remains at this point in time. Dice of Ice is taken down. 2 members left on VTubers Paradise to try and find it. They will pick up Morton, and Basila's looking to try and disengage. Ults out as well. Lockie's beads used offensively to get back on through. They have to be careful trying to come around the back. The crits, they're hitting huge. Basilis finds a double kill, and it's all on Lockie to keep this chase going if they so want. Basilis is going to hound out the members as well, and I thought we were going to a game 3, but Basilis and Lockie, the crits, they hit, but they don't hit hard enough. They will end up falling at this point. Basilis carrying this game on the shoulders of the giant that is this Raven in the jungle. Keeps the team in the game. The question is, though, is this a dying breath or a second wind? We'll have to go and find on out as Basilis trying once again to just hold wherever they can.
I don't think you're that worried. You've already got the fight back.
Oh,
Wow,
no.
burnt down by Sase. I still think that's fine. Incredible turnaround. I really thought that was game. Only 2 members alive for VTubers Paradise. I thought that was it. The sustain coming through from Sakura was just too strong, but Loki turning up big, Basilius coming up big, the damage coming out is incredible with all the penetration that those 2 guys have. It's not a throw by any means. They're still very happy. They got 2 Phoenixes off the map. I do think they could have gone a little bit more slowly, let the Oni minions sort themselves out, as we said, but still very happy. They're still in prime position for this next EFG. 5 minions pouring down that left-hand side, but VTubers Paradise, their time's still healthy. They're still not out of this just yet.
Not just yet, and this is now pretty much just whoever presses their buttons at this point. Almost everyone, save for iDaisy, is at level 20. Almost everyone, except iDaisy, is full build at this point in time. So it is very much just who pushes their buttons better. And like we said last game, King Size, at this point, just have to worry about whether or not these Oni minions or these fire minions push up in their favor. As iDaisy once again caught in a bit of trouble. Riptide pulls them back on through. They're crippled, rooted in place. As there's a lot of damage there, but iDaisy is tanky enough to survive most of this. There's a lot there.
Surely.
Whether or not there's a turnaround potential through. Finally, Morton takes them down as Lopo looks to try and keep this charge going. Basilis finds Morton round the backside. Apollo comes on through with the ultimate, looking to take down the mage. Dice of Ice gets taken down. Loki picks up Sase as well. It's a 2-for-2 trade out at this point in time. But Basilis, though, is still holding. There's the Mystic Rush. This guy is refusing to let it go. Panada gets a big ultimate off, and right underneath it, Basilis comes on through. They are taking it to this team. The Loki goes ahead, tries and keeps 1 member locked on down, knows the other 2 have the damage to be able to deal with Lopo. They will find it. It is almost a full wipe to hold again, and all those death timers. It's just more time for those Phoenixes to respawn to keep the game back into an even balance.
I think they're kind of torn here. You need to defend your Titan, but also Fire Giant is on the table. Those 2 on their own can probably do it. I'd like to see Basilius now just go back. And I think defend Titan, defend those Phoenixes. I think they'll be okay. Pinada might die for it. Ooh, this is close.
Pinada, this is very, very close, like you mentioned. Steps over the firewall, might just be able to do so. They will get Fire Giant. No, Pinada will not die. Their Titan will take a little bit of damage. Daisy will be there to hold that one up. Can they hold their left Phoenix as well? This would just be a huge momentum turnaround. Great freeze to keep the minions from hitting on that Phoenix. And it does look like, yes, VTubers Paradise can breathe another sigh of relief. That was a second wind. 40 minutes on into this game. They are holding on tooth and claw and nail and fighting for whatever they can at this point.
Incredible. It's turned around. It's turned on its head once again. And now I think, I mean, the gold's dead even. That's not relevant at this point. They've got Fire Giant. They do need to defend that mid lane. But again, you're not so worried about mid lane. You're always closer to mid lane than you are that long lane. But now 5 minions have been taken down by Loki. You can start now looking to get a little bit more aggressive with this enhanced Fire Giant. You can start looking at sieging Phoenixes for yourself. And that's what I expect to see. And I think for the side of King Kai's, they will struggle a little bit more to defend a Phoenix.
Yeah, River's Rebuke is the best option they've got, coming in from a side, locking everyone in. But even so, you got Dice of Ice being able to just throw out an ult, locking everyone in. It's going to be difficult. The walls from Ymir could cause some trouble as Obelisk is fully powered, but no one's likely going to be going ahead and taking that one down. Mid Phoenix being somewhat looked at there. There's the blink pickup. Freak out is going to get the Beast Force as River's Rebuke as well.
That's
for a blinking Arthur ult.
Super worth. I
Oh,
think this
yeah.
is all theirs now. I think getting rid of that key cooldown, plus the beads are gone as well from Freak Out. If I
Keep an
think
eye on
Basilius
Mortem.
can get on, then this is free. They should take this fight. And they should take it now.
Keep an eye on Mortem hovering around this left-hand side. No wards there to keep an eye on. But Freak Out's trying to take the 1v1. Mystic Rush
Wow!
takes them down immediately. The Apollo doing work, trying to put down Basilius.
Gone.
But in doing so, has meant that the mid Phoenix ends up falling. Basilius will go down to a Trickster Spirit from the Dargy, but the root boot there keeps Luke in trouble.
Wow.
Big full-man stun there means that they will be able to disengage. Now whether or not Mortem wants to keep this going. Frenzy's there, but a beautiful
Okay.
work comes on through. That might just be the grasp of death. 3 members have fallen. Lupo, Sase, it is all or nothing. Can you do what the VTubers did before you right now? The damage is ratcheting on up for this mid Phoenix. Lupo's health bar cannot withstand this much punishment, and neither can the Titans. Pinata will fall, but not long after, the Titan will do so as well. Sase the holds on a double kill, but it is just not good enough. Lockie and Daisy end the game, end the set. VTubers Paradise take it 2-0 over the King Kai.
Doesn't feel like a 2-0, does it? Unbelievable.
No.
Both games incredibly close. Both teams putting up an unbelievable fight, backwards and forwards. Unbelievable, fantastic stuff. I think there's a lot of little things that just help them out at the end. The Blink King Arthur ult, getting those beads, getting the River's Rebukes, which would have been really valuable. That was massive, and they chose the right time to go in. And I think that's what it comes down to. The reason they were able to close out both game 1 and game 2, just that split-second decision-making late on in the game, and it really, really counted. They were just that little bit sharper. And in the end, they deserved their 2-0, but it was damn close, and credit to King Kai's for making it so difficult.
I have to, like, I want to watch more of these two teams. I want to see them take this to a game 5. Like, you can hear at the end of my voice there. Like, I choke it out for King Kai's because the whole engagement is just so much potential for this turnaround. We saw it twice come through for the VTubers across 2 games as well. 3 times if you want to include the first game. On holding on these defenses. Player damage, 52,000 player damage and 48,000 from the Hunters.
Crazy. I mean, we were highlighting, weren't we, Lockie, with this very early pickup of the dominance, and we're like, is that going to work? It certainly worked late game. Penetration online. Sase, 13 and 4, massive player damage, really impactful throughout the game, across the map. Great showings from everyone. I really, really enjoyed that. Lots of fantastic individual performances for both sides, no doubt about that, and the team play from both of them. Again, it was really, really fun. And this is only week 1. These teams have maybe had one scrim together. This is week 1, and they're already playing like that. I'm super excited for the future of both these teams.
It's going to be such a wonder to be able to see, like you said, one scrim, that's how these two teams are playing. I think this has been a fantastic showing. Like you said, this doesn't feel like a 2-0. This has felt like both of these two teams really nose to the grindstone, figuring out just how far they can take it with the teams. And in this instance, VTubers Paradise come up just that little bit sharper, just a little bit sooner. And for my money, that's just some of these coordinated communications. Pinata and Lockie going in together, hounding members off from the Gold Fury side of things. Basilius, late game. This Ravan, late game, just removed member time after time after time like that.
I think a lot of it goes down to Basilius with this full pen, high cooldown reduction build. Really, really difficult to deal with. We saw a couple of 1v1s going the way of Basilius in the jungle. Morton really struggled to just fight into the sheer burst from Ravan. And a lot of that comes down to being able to hit those Ravan ultimates, which if you can do that, you've already won the fight. You're getting mitigations. You're doing a ton of damage. Impressive performance. And I can't wait for the rematch.
I am very much looking forward to just any match either of these two teams are in. and I definitely do agree with you. But unfortunately, this is not a best of 5, so we'll not be seeing any more from these two teams. This is a best of 3, so commiserations going to the King Kais there, but congratulations to the V-Subers Paradise. That is going to go ahead and bring it down for this set here with myself, Supersonic Blur. Zats has been on the breaking down side of things for the chair to Princess, the absolutely fantastic production for whom without we would not have any such luck of being able to bring you the game, and of course the players as well, absolutely able to just bring us a fantastic couple of games. Thank you very much for watching. We will see you all next time.